This week's podcast is proudly sponsored by Philips OLED Plus TV. OLED Plus is the unique, multi-award winning combination of the latest OLED technology, working with Philips P5 AI dual engine picture processing, Philips Ambilight and Bowers & Wilkins superb sound. Philips OLED Plus redefines what's possible for both picture quality and sound quality, immersive performance in the premium TV market. Discover more at philips.com/OLED Plus.
Hello and welcome to the Christmas special AVForums podcast. It's Wednesday, the 15th of December, and joining me tonight is Ed Selley.
You don't happen to have $8,000 on you?
Kaz Harlow.
Anchor chains, plane motors, and train whistles.
Mark Costello.
Is this the year you can't hear on?
Tom Davies.
Happy New Year to you, in jail.
Greg Hook.
No.
Nope. Rik Henderson.
You call this a happy family? Why do we have to have all these kids?
And Steve Withers.
Youth is wasted on the wrong people.
Welcome along. Like I say, it is the Christmas special. So we've got the whole team here tonight. We've even got Rik in to talk games, and Greg is here
in person.
Hopefully he's going to be able to talk tech. If his microphone works. Obviously, this is the AVForums podcast where technology is at the forefront of everything we do, and nothing's working because Steve's mic's knackered as well. But anyway, we're here tonight for our Christmas special. So the movies team, the hardware team, the gaming side and tech side, we're going to quickly go through our favourites of the year. So coming up tonight, we've got our competitions as always. We'll go through competition winners. We then quickly got 3 or 4 minutes with Tom, who saw Spider-Man today. The review is on the homepage. You want to go and read it, then wait till after the podcast, obviously, and then you can go and read Tom's review.
I can chime in on that one because I saw it this afternoon.
Okay, well, there you go. We'll have 4 minutes on that, seeing Steve's also seen it.
4 spoiler-free minutes.
Yeah, we're going to go through 4K and Blu-ray discs of the year, so the outstanding picture quality, sound quality, special editions, box sets, extra packages, that kind of thing. Rik's going to talk gaming. What were the best games of the year? Obviously, new hardware coming on the scene as well this year. So we're going to cover that as well. Our home cinema experiences of the year. So what have we done in our home cinemas? We've all been locked down some of this year. So what did we do? Did we upgrade our cinemas? What were the bits of kit that we've added? Has Ed listened to every bit of music that's ever existed? We'll cover that in some detail there. Then we'll have a quick break and come back with best of 2021 music releases, so album, vinyl, streaming, playlists, all that kind of thing. Ed's going to fill us in with that. We also got movies, so cinema releases. The movies guys are going to go through that, as well as our Christmas movies we're going to finish with. So discs, home cinema viewing traditions, things that we do at Christmas, being AV fanatics. We're going to cover that towards the end. There's also a very special tonight for our patrons. If you support the site, it is very much appreciated. We know we've got plenty of patrons out there. If you are a patron, you're listening tonight and you haven't seen the Patreon page, then we will be inviting you to an after party tonight. Once we finish on the live stream on YouTube, you can join us. At that point, Ed will be absolutely probably legless. You can ask us anything you like at that point. If you're a patron, you have supported us all year. It's our chance to sit back and take the questions from you. So if you want to find out how to do that, go to the Patreon page and it'll give you the details, and Stuart will be inviting you into the call once we finish tonight. So that's everything that's lined up. So before we get cracking, we've got to do competitions, and I'm going to pick a victim. So Mark, why don't you take us through the competitions?
Yes, Phil, will do. You can win at this very moment in time a Denon AVR X1700H AV receiver worth £599, courtesy of Peter Tyson. You can win one of 2 pairs of the Philips Fidelio L3 headphones worth £299 each, and one of 3 sets of Earfun Free Pro earbuds worth $69.99 each. And to top it all off, we've also got a bunch of 4K and Blu-ray sets to give away, including Session 9 Unlimited Edition Blu-ray from Second Sight, Malignant and the complete Neon Genesis Evangelion on Blu-ray, and Patreon exclusives for the Karate Kid trilogy, Final Fantasy, and Don't Breathe 2 on 4K, as well as Criterion's December titles on Blu-ray, Finn. So head on over to avforums.com/competitions to enter. All competitions are open to eligible AV Forums members resident in the UK.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Mark. And let's go to Tom for the previous competition winners.
Okay, so we have Reg Tastical, who won a Patreon exclusive copy of Guns of Navarone on 4K. Autohead won a copy of Mortimer and Whitehouse Gone Fishing on Blu-ray. Rich P007 won a copy of The Crown Season 4 on Blu-ray. Patron Academic Barzo won a Vestron 3 Blu-ray bundle. Stevie DR won the Patron exclusive 3 Blu-ray bundle from Criterion for November. Sammy Darlow won a podcast exclusive copy of Brave New World on Blu-ray. Karen123 won Off the Rails on Blu-ray. The Black Lodge won the podcast exclusive Christmas Carol on Blu-ray. Vernon UK2 won The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It on Blu-ray. Hyung Seung won a copy of Star Trek Discovery Season 3 on Blu-ray.
We're so sorry about that.
Mr. H won the podcast exclusive Road to Perdition Blu-ray. And Stecker won a copy of Swallow on limited edition Blu-ray.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Tom. And I think Kaz has to explain the podcast exclusive tonight. So Kaz, why don't you explain this one?
Sure. You can stay tuned for a chance to win one of 12 podcast exclusive Blu-rays, including the likes of Deathstroke, Mortal Kombat Battle of the Realms, Prospect, Nicely Animated Dead, Peter Rabbit, and Conjuring Devil Made Me Do It. The way we're doing it is we've got 12 winners. I'll draw them all on Christmas Day, and the first people to reply get to pick from the complete selection, and then it'll work as they get picked. So be first to reply is my tip to that for all those who take a little bit of time getting back to me. And that'll be 12 Christmas presents for Christmas.
Excellent. Good stuff. Condo 007 says, how come it's only film that's made the effort for the Christmas?
I've got a Christmas jumper on. It's Jurassic Park.
There's a Jurassic Park Christmas jumper there. There was also, Rick's got one on there.
I've got a mod, a nice mod.
Yeah, excellent.
Jumper.
Nice, Rick. And Mark, you look like you got a Christmas jumper on. There we go. So some of them are making the effort here tonight, aren't we, Steve?
I may know.
Why start a new trend? Anyway, we're going to be back in a second to talk Spider-Man.
If you'd like to support the AV Forums podcast on a regular basis, then why not become a patron? Head over to patreon.com/AVForums to sign up. You can also make a one-off donation through the Super Chat or via streamlabs.com/AVForums. All donations help us to improve the website and the podcasts. Thank you to all our supporters.
Right, so like I said, we're going to talk Spider-Man. We've got 4 minutes to do this. So Tom, obviously your reviews on the homepage, we want people to go and read the review, obviously after the podcast, if you're watching live. But just give us a brief.
So this is weirdly not just the culmination of all the Spider-Man stories to date in the MCU, but this is a culmination of all Spider-Man ever, apparently. The Spider-Man No Way Home is out today at the cinema, and it is just thoroughly great. It is a really, really wonderful Spider-Man experience. It's difficult to talk about it without going into major spoilers very, very quickly. If you've seen the trailer, then already you'll have sort of some clue of what it's about. But essentially, if you've seen the poster, in fact, you'll have some clue of what it's about because you've already seen the tentacles of Dr. Octopus, and you can kind of see, if you're watching on the live stream, there's a Green Goblin on his glider up in the corner there as well. So we've got bad guys from previous Spider-Man movies suddenly showing up in Tom Holland's Spider-Man movie. And the breakdown of the multiverse is essentially the bad guy that Spider-Man is fighting this time. And it's just great. It's a 2.5-hour thrill ride. It's Civil War for Spider-Man only, basically. It's Spider-Verse in live action. I don't know what more you could want from a Spider-Man movie, but essentially it's my second favorite Spider-Man movie, I think, after Into the Spider-Verse. Steve, you saw it as well. What did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic film. In fact, it's my favourite film of the year, although I've only seen 3 films at the cinema, so it's not up against a lot of competition. No, it's a good laugh. It's well put together. Top draw effects. The cast is great. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give anything away, but there's some nice surprises in there. And yeah, all in all, I'd say that after a bunch of, let's be honest, quite disappointing Marvel movies, this one's back to top form.
Agreed.
I'm really looking forward to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Absolutely, yes, definitely.
Doctor Strange. There is not a stinger at the end of the film, but there is a trailer.
Yes,
Multiverse of Madness. So
that's right. And Strange, who features heavily in this, it's going to.
It's also obviously going to be in that.
Yeah, it's going to carry straight on.
To be fair,
it's an interesting thing they've got going on at the moment with their movies and TV separation.
Well, today was an interesting day because a character from another show appeared in one thing I watched today, and a character from that same show, another character from that same show appeared in another thing I watched today. I don't want to say any more than that, but if you're watching Hawkeye as well, you'll probably be able to guess.
Oh, right.
So anyone else on the podcast heading out to see this one? Kaz, you going?
I am planning to see it over Christmas and New Year, but it really depends how quickly I can get the kids up to speed on the rest. We're up to and have completed Age of Ultron. And so
sorry, you didn't mean just 2 Spider-Man films. You take them through. Are you going to show them like all of the?
No, we've done phase 1 and phase 2. We're on the next one is Civil War, and we have the chance to finish it in time to watch Spider-Man.
Yeah, you only have 7 Spider-Man films to watch in advance as well.
No, they've seen all the Spider-Man films.
Okay,
we just have to watch the MCU films, and we're skipping. We skipped Ant-Man. We're skipping, we're skipping a few of the. We obviously didn't watch Dark World. It didn't even come up. So there's a chance we might make it before the new year. We'll see. Okay, I'm trying.
Excellent. Rick, you taking this one?
I actually cancelled my tickets for it as soon as they announced that mask wearing was going to be mandatory again. Purely because
just say, Rick, in my cinema, I don't think anyone was listening to that particular.
Right, yeah.
Everyone, I had mine on, but practically nobody else did.
Well, I've had a chest infection for the last week or so. I'm slightly getting better now. But the worst thing I thought was if I cough my way through the film, everybody will run screaming for the exit.
At least you'll have no one sat next to you.
Yeah. So I actually cancelled them. Sadly, I had 2 tickets booked to go and see it on Monday. But to be honest, the way things are, it will be available on for rental streaming by 1st of January.
Yeah. And I've just noticed that Greg's going to win put a Christmas jumper on. Well done, Greg. Thank you very much. Good to see you taking part as well.
Thank you.
And the microphone's fixed as well.
Yes.
Good stuff. Anybody else heading to see Spider-Man, or can we wrap up on this one and go and read the review on the homepage? Anyone else?
No.
Nope. Okay. So like I say, the review's on the homepage. Tom spent a lot of time doing that. And he's been to the cinema as well. So go read it. Is it worth going to the cinema? He'll tell you all about it in his review. Right, let's go do the best of 2021. Let's head to 4K and Blu-ray first of all. And we're going to be quick with this as well. Just one pick for the team for this year. Their best for outstanding picture quality. Let's go. I'm going to pick on Rick first of all. Rick, what's your outstanding picture quality in terms of 4K?
The only 4K Blu-ray that I've watched this year was The Matrix. In preparation for the thing, I've got the trilogy box set on 4K, and so I sat and watched that. And having got a brand new OLED very, very recently, it was a good test for that as well. And that first film holds up remarkably well as a picture and audio feast, although obviously it's not in Dolby Atmos, just 5.1. In fact, I saw it. So, but I still thought it was fantastic.
Okay, good stuff. Mark, what's your choice?
I think this year for me, I was more impressed with the 4K picture quality of older films than with any of the newer films. I think we've had so many good ones this year, but the one I'm going to pick is The Howling from Studio Canal. I wasn't expecting anything at all from that, but it absolutely blew me away in terms of exceeding my expectations. There's a host of other ones as well. I mean, we've had the indie box set was fantastic. That looked amazing, as did the Star Trek box set. Was a little bit, it had its issues, shall we say, but just glad to have those in 4K. And I think the Dawn of the Dead set as well was also very impressive. But for me, the Howling was the one that surprised me the most.
Okay, good stuff. Greg, anything from you this year?
Well, no. I've done what I posted about on the forums many times that I would never do, and that's go streaming. I haven't bought a single 4K disc this year or watched one, so I've gone to the dark side, and it's just Netflix, Amazon Prime. That's me now.
Okay.
So I haven't actually watched a 4K disc all year.
Okay, I'm going to jump over Ed because Ed won't have pointless going there. We'll just get comments on vinyl. Tom, what's yours?
I can't believe Mark didn't say ticks. Mark, surely your 4K of the years. Anyway, mine is. These always feel like what's the best 4K of like the last 3 months, which every single year I feel like I choose something from the last 3. It's the Seventh Seal. The restoration work on the Seventh Seal was just mind blowing. It's never looked so incredibly crisp, and as one of the best films ever made, it's now the best looking that it's ever been. So that's my pick.
Okay, Kaz.
I'm going to go with Wrath of Khan, because I thought when they go through the nebula, the colors in that made me think for a second they'd redone the effects. I thought it was really good.
Okay, so that leaves Steve.
I am going to pick The Final Countdown. I think that looks absolutely incredible for a film of its age, and given that no one's heard of it. So apart from me, mainly. No, it looks amazing. And it's like it was shot yesterday. They've done an amazing job of restoring that film. And Blue Underground are doing the Lord's work when it comes to discs. So that's my choice.
Good stuff. So let's move on swiftly with outstanding sound quality, 4K wise. Anybody want to chip in here first of all?
I'll chip in.
Yeah, go on.
Godzilla vs. Kong. Absolutely balls out soundtrack. Sounds amazing.
Funny enough, I was going to say the same. I was going to say the same on that one.
Absolutely. I'm going to third that. It's an experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing a consensus for the first time in AVForums history.
I'd seen Tom and Steve agree on something. It must be Christmas.
I want to give a shout out for Monster Hunter. I thought that had some
serious amount of bass.
Monstrous
amounts of bass.
Okay, Kaz, any preferences here from you?
I mean, Godzilla vs. Kong's a great pick. I would shout out for the Suicide Squad, because that was a great disc. It was a great all-round disc and a surprisingly good film.
Okay, good stuff. So again, swiftly, we've got lots to get through tonight, but special editions, box sets, extras. What was it that blew us away this year? I think we've had a good year in terms of back catalogue, in terms of special editions coming onto discs. So Kaz, what was your pick of the year?
In terms of sets, I mean, I was pretty impressed by the indie sets.
Apart from the packaging, that really sucked.
Sure. Did you go UK or US?
US.
It's the UK one that's in good condition, isn't it? It's the UK one that's a bit. Well, anyway, I thought one of them was slightly sturdier than the other. But I like the indie sets. I've got time for that.
Okay, cool. Steve, what was yours?
I like the True Romance set a lot. I thought the picture and Sam were also great. I think for sheer volume of stuff, the Outsiders box set is pretty good. I mean, it looks fantastic, and there's a whole host of extras in there and 2 versions of the film. My choice for worst special edition box set has to be Mulholland Drive. When it comes in a thing about this big, most of which is empty. So I think they're getting a bit carried away with some of their packaging these days.
It doesn't have the extras from the Criterion, does it?
No, I already got the Criterion disc on Blu-ray though, so that's why I bought the Studio Canal version instead. But I mean, I'm just going to bung the box in a cupboard somewhere and just put the disc in my collection, because the box is frankly pointless.
Mark, what's your pick?
I'm going to go with the series of box set releases. Indicator have started to release box sets of long forgotten noir films from Columbia. They've released 3 6 film box sets this year. Superb restorations on them. They look absolutely amazing. And the films are just complete hidden gems, things I'd never heard of before. But I've had an absolute blast with them. Three sets down this year and more to come next year. So that'll be my choice for box set.
Okay. Tom?
I'm going to go super nerdy and choose the recently released complete series of Neon Genesis Evangelion, I should say. And it's been a real surprise to me because not only does it include the recent Netflix restoration dub, it also includes the classic, terrible, goofy, larger-than-life characters dub, which has been impossible to find for the longest time and is just ridiculous and funny and in inappropriate ways. So that's been really great. It's been really great to be able to experience it again, not only the way that it's intended now, but also the way that I experienced it when I was a teenager as well. So that's been great.
Okay, excellent. Rik, anything to add here?
Not really. When you've been reviewing 40-hour plus games, you don't get a chance to watch extras.
I was just being polite asking you. Yes. we understand gaming's your thing. But it's been a good year for disc. It hasn't died yet, even though people keep saying the writing's on the wall. I think it's going to go niche. There's no doubt about that, and it started to go that way. But again, it's been another great year. Especially if you're an AV enthusiast, some cracking sets out there, some cracking discs, some really good work going into that. So let's move on to gaming. Again, it's been a good year, Rik. We haven't had you much on the podcast, but again, you've started your own podcast, so maybe you could quickly tell us about that. And also, what's your thoughts on Gamesmaster coming back? Because for people that don't know, Rik was a part of the original Gamesmaster. So what do you think about that coming back to our TVs?
Yeah. All right, first the gratuitous plug. I started my own podcast called Gameslifer, all one word, where I interview either industry figureheads from the gaming industry or just people who love games about their life of games. So from when they first got their first console and on, and then throughout that we talk about their 5 favorite games or games that meant something to them. It could be the worst games they've ever played, but it's games that have actually meant something to their lives. We've got 2 episodes are out already. I've got a couple more lined up with some really big names and some big celebrity ones coming up next year. So I do roughly one a month and put them out. It's an hour-long episode. So look up Gameslifer on Google or iTunes or Spotify or any of the popular podcasting platforms. In terms of Gamesmaster, I've actually spoken to them. Gamesmaster, it was actually excellent. A lot of people have asked me what I thought of it because obviously I did the original run all the way up to 1997. And then all of a sudden it was coming back this year, mainly as a YouTube show and then shown on E4 during the week. Only 3 episodes because it's kind of like a pilot series. And there was a lot of trepidation because obviously none of the original cast or crew was involved. However, I think they did it with immense reverence. They really watched every episode we'd done and properly did it right. The new cast is fantastic. I really love them all. Become good friends with a couple of them. And genuinely, I think they couldn't have done a better job. So hopefully it will come back for a second series and who knows what may bring with that second series. So,
excellent.
So yeah, very happy that Gamesmaster is back. Now all you have to do is bring back other 90s shows that nobody remembers.
I'm the sure.
Word.
The word.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Right, so let's move on to gaming then very quickly. And Rik, what was your choices for the year in terms of games? What was the best games in your opinion?
Right, I'll go. It was really hard to actually wheedle it down. Most surprising game of the year would be for me Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. The actual game, it was kind of announced with little fanfare, and everybody went, "Really?" when they announced it, because it wasn't very long before it actually came out. So we didn't expect an awful lot from it. It looked nice in the trailers, but my God, it's a fantastic game to play. It's really, really good. And also a visual feast. And that's the big thing, is that if you like Guardians of the Galaxy, if you like the comic books or the movies, then you will absolutely love Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, especially on Xbox Series X and PS5, because it has incredible 60 frames per second modes that look stunning. Genuinely, I couldn't recommend that enough. But that was more for a surprising one. My game of the year actually only came out very, very recently. I had several in my mind. Returnal was a fantastic game. If you're a big PS5 owner, then Returnal is an absolute must-buy. If you have a Nintendo Switch, Metroid Dread is also a must-buy. Fantastic game. Really good game. However, my game of the year arrived a couple of weeks ago, Halo Infinite. Again, and a game I didn't expect an awful lot from. It was delayed by a year and was meant to come out with the Xbox Series X when it was launched at the end of 2020. Missed that slot, but it is proof positive as to why a developer should sometimes hold on to something and let it bake a little bit longer. The trailers that they released back in 2020 were appalling. Everybody laughed at the state of it and thought this is going to be dreadful. A year later, it's turned out to be the best game of the year. That's my honest opinion. It's available on Xbox Game Pass as well, which is the multiplayer was already free. Now the campaign is available, and if you've got Xbox Game Pass on an Xbox One, Xbox Series X, or Xbox Series S, then or PC, you can play it for absolutely nothing more. It's all included in the cost, and quite frankly, I don't know why you still listen to this. Go and play it, Halo Infinite.
No, still listen to this. You can go play it after. Right, so thanks for that, Rick. Obviously, again, a big year for consoles. So, how's that gone across? Has it changed the way you game?
Oh, it's absolutely changed the way I game. I'm very fortunate to have several of the consoles because many people don't. This is the big problem with the consoles is both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I even love the Series S. Are brilliant machines that we've only just started to tap their potential. The problem that we have is stock issues. Now, partly that's the supply chain, partly it's stock because of the chips, partly it's because they've sold more PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's in lockdown than they could possibly have imagined. So trying to get stock onto shelves is really hard. And that whole process of trying to buy one has been one of the most painful experiences of the last year. So I do fully appreciate that some people can't get hold of one. However, stock is likely to start ramping up January and February time. So if you can't get one in time for Christmas, or you haven't been able to get one this year, then hopefully you will be able to get one next year. The best thing about both of them is, quite frankly, certainly the Xbox Series X, is that 120 hertz, VRR, 4K visuals, ray tracing, all of it is starting to bleed its way into the games. When they first came out, people went, well, these just look like the last gen consoles. The games themselves weren't exploiting some of those new features, but now they are. The games are starting to come out with all of those features included. And having got a brand new telly recently with 120 hertz and VRR, it was, it's incredible. In fact, back to Halo Infinite, that's in 120 hertz. So it's another world. It's another term of gaming. Of course, PC gamers will just be laughing at me right now, going, we've had this for years.
I'm trying not to.
Well, I was just about to open it up to everybody else then. So we have some gamers on the podcast here. So I know Tom's a big gamer. So Tom, very quickly, but what was your favourites this year?
Well, Rick's already mentioned Returnal, which is just blinding to play through. Absolutely superbly designed to within an inch of its life. It's a real experience. But weirdly, I didn't expect myself to be saying this, but my game of the year is probably Resident Evil Village, which I've had just a great time with. It's the first time in a while that there's been a sequence in a Resident Evil game that has frightened me, which I think if you've played it, then you'll probably know the basement of the house. And you are stripped of your weapons and you are just running around in the dark away from crying child noises, and it is absolutely horrifying. And I didn't expect to find something. I'm not very easily scared, but this really did a number on me, and for that I've got to give it I've got to give it credit for it, because it's just generally a really fun game to play through. There's loads of nods to like the past games, and the level design in it is just really tight, and that's got to be my best experience this year.
Sounds like it could make a great movie.
You would think. You would think.
Greg, then why don't you tell the console boys what they're missing out on?
Yeah, loads. Well, no, firstly, I want to say, like Rik was saying, with the shortages for the consoles, the PC gamers have had it with the 3 series NVIDIA chips or cards. You just can't get them for reasonable prices. They've come down a bit now, but they've been, as soon as stock comes on a popular website, it's gone within seconds, and then some people are trying to flog them for twice the price, and it's just been mad. They're really, the 3080 is probably one of the better ones value wise compared to the 3090, but any of them have just been so rare. It's just soon,
I think we've seen that all over the industry, haven't we? So but in terms of game, do you give us your best this year?
Yeah, it's one that's been out a little while, but a bit late to the party with, was Red Dead Redemption 2. That's brilliant game, really huge open world. The campaign, single players, really good fun, really long as well, many hours in that. So that's probably my best game this year. And then sort of next to that was Far Cry 6, which is very dodgy in parts, but it's great fun. The AI is dreadful, really bad. It's comical in places, but yeah, it's a good fun game, that one.
Okay, good stuff. Right, so we need to move it on, but thanks to Rik for his insight there with the gaming. Let's move it on, because Ed needs to get ready. He's going to do his music releases in a little bit, so hopefully he's done some research on that. But before we go to that, very quickly, obviously we have had continued lockdowns this year. We've all been using our systems, watching films and all the rest of it. So what have we upgraded? What kind of experiences have we had with our home cinema this year? Steve, let's go to you first. Obviously you get review kit through, but what have you done this year?
I actually haven't needed to upgrade my system, because I'm in the lucky position that some of the equipment that I use has had free upgrades courtesy of the manufacturers. So the Davies N7 projector has had 2 major updates since I bought it, and it's still the best projected image I've ever seen anywhere. And the Trinov Altitude 16 processor, as I was talking about last week, has now got 4 additional channels of processing. So the only difference I've made in terms of my system is I've gone from 9.1.6 to 9.2.6, so 2 discrete subs. I always had the 2 subs, but before I was just splitting them off of a single mono output from the Trinov. So I did a lot of updates last year. So when we first went into lockdown, I thought I think I can make a few changes here. So it's pretty much plateaued now. This is something I was talking about last week, which is that tech in terms of audio and video has largely plateaued, in the sense that nothing necessarily new is coming along. It's more a case of fine-tuning performance here and there. And that's a trend I don't expect to change next year.
No, I don't expect it to change next year either, and we've already sat in a couple of things this week, and there are no major changes really. It's
I'm not saying anything, but
no, not saying anything, but as we were. Rik, what about you? What have you done this year in terms of?
I mentioned it before. I think the biggest thing was opting to upgrade my 2016 LG OLED to a Philips 65-inch OLED 806. Excellent. Which I'm very happy about.
So Rik, as a big gamer, you're not worried about any image retention or screen burn or anything like
that? Well, therein lies the story. No, not with the Philips, funny enough, because I know, having gone to Amsterdam with Philips and seen all their intelligent screen burning technologies, which sometimes do make FIFA look a bit darker than it should be, and because it's sort of like there's so much static imagery on that game that it sort of like has to darken the image quite significantly. But the actual LG, that's pretty much why I was getting rid of it in the first place, because it was I'd gone through 2 panels on that TV, thanks to screen retention.
That was 2016 models, you say?
Yeah, that was 2016.
Yeah, they were
that was
more pro
that was
back
the
then.
E6. So that was the first year. So and by the time, and the thing about the screen retention, it does fade over time. There was one point when it was really bad, and having just constantly looped the TV over and over again, watched and not played FIFA. It did sort of like fade significantly, so it was actually, you could barely notice it, but it was still there. And any AV fan will say that that's not good enough.
Did you sell your E6?
I gave it to my brother-in-law.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you a big fan of 3D?
The E6 goes for good money.
Yeah. No, they do. People still love 3D.
The last of its kind.
I've got about 20 pairs of 3D glasses I forgot to give him as well.
Mark, any upgrades this year?
No real ones, only one of the most painful ones a projector owner can do, which is it was time for a new bulb. And in the JVC N5, it was rather expensive. So that's the only thing I've had to change.
How many hours you put on the N5?
Just over 3,000.
Yeah, I thought I was using it a lot.
I get through 650 films a year, me.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's alive. I don't do that in a decade.
Yeah.
Don't try hard enough, Ed.
That's 2 a day. How do you find time to watch 2 films a day?
I'm a pro, Steve. I'm a pro.
Yeah, there you go. Anybody else upgraded this year? Kaz, you upgraded anything this year?
Thanks to Steve, I finally figured my way around Atmos on the Apple TV, but that was at the beginning of the year. That was during lockdown. So it was nice finally getting Atmos out of the Apple box because it was fine for discs, but I was missing out on a lot of Atmos for streaming releases where they have it. But I actually had to downgrade. I got the latest hard target disc on 4K and flickering picture, reverse channels on sound. And if you stop the player from showing Dolby Vision, which is thanks to Phil, you can stop it flickering, because the flickering is the problem with the Dolby Vision dynamic layer. And the
There's
HDR
a lot
layer
of
is
faulty
fine.
discs coming out this year, I have to say.
It
been
was
pretty common.
absolutely unwatchable, sound and picture screwed, but I managed to get it sorted just so I could enjoy some classic Van Damme.
Okay. Anybody else? Tom, you updated your system this year?
No, that's the plan for next year.
I have updated mine, but it's not an AV system.
Yeah, we're coming on to using it.
I'm awaiting an upgrade on mine. My subwoofer blew up the other week. So I've got.
What were you doing to it, Greg?
Well, I hadn't actually used it for ages. It wasn't plugged in, and I plugged it in, and it started making
squirrels.
Yeah, or mice.
Family of mice.
Yeah, family of mice probably. It was an old Mordant Short MS309. I've had it for about 15, probably 10,
That
15
is a very
years.
old lady.
Yeah.
I took 2 of those to the tip not that long ago.
So I've upgraded to one that Steve gave an editor's choice, the BK Electronics P12 300
It's a
SB.
fine subwoofer.
Serious bang for your buck.
Yeah, which is
Well,
hopefully
hopefully not a bang again in your.
Yeah, no.
Different bang.
Hopefully that's come in before Christmas. And the other thing, my LG B7 TV's got a weird square in the middle of the screen, slightly discoloured. So LG are coming to replace the panel next week. So
is that screen burn? Is it? Do you have a new game or something?
No, I think it's a known issue.
£40.
Yeah, I posted about it on the forums. I think it's a known issue because it's out of LG's warranty, but they.
So is someone coming on site to have a look at that? Because obviously, as I've marked in reviews, my HDMI ARC has been broken for over a year. So I might actually see if someone can come and make that well again.
I'm obviously quite relieved that my B7's still going strong. No issues as far as I can tell.
To be honest, I did hot plug the HDMI ARC cable about 800 times, and it eventually said no bollocks to it. I'm not doing that anymore. So that's what did in for it.
To be fair, I had LG out twice, once to replace the panel, and then they said they wanted to come and replace the power unit because they were blowing up.
Details.
Hence, I've not now got an LG.
I know we recommended the C1 last week, but honestly, they are good TVs.
They are.
Yeah.
No, I'm quite prepared to admit that I broke my HDMI ARC. I don't think it failed. I think I killed it. So,
Right, well, it's been a bit of a different hardware section this week. Like you say, it's a Christmas special, so we're doing the best of 2021. Coming next is the software section, and we are actually going to talk about some software.
If you enjoy the podcast on YouTube, then please like and subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version, then please leave us a rating on your podcast app. We invite you to email questions and feedback to podcast@avforums.com and join in with this episode's discussion thread in the podcasts forum at AVForums.
Okay, so Ed gets to say something on the podcast. Yay! Right, so best of 2021, Ed. We're looking at your album, vinyl, streaming, and playlist.
Right. Album, I prevaricated on this, and ironically, Steve's just buggered off because I think he would endorse this one. I was going to go with Royal Blood, but I have decided on balance, having just listened to them again earlier today. Public service broadcasting, Bright Magic. Concept albums are intrinsically naff. Public service broadcasting has somehow found a way to make them less naff. It's an engaging, emotive, and very clever piece of technical work. So is the rest of their back catalogue. But Typhoons by Royal Blood is not clever at all, but it's a lot of fun. So if you don't fancy the idea of a concept album, either of those is fine. Vinyl release of the month, I'm going to turn my head. Is Think It Isn't Until It Is. That isn't a groundbreaking thing. It's him revisiting music from his earlier albums, but it's beautifully put together. Ninja Tune has done some really nice pressings over the last 2 years, and that is an absolutely sensational one. So if you are interested in this deranged format, it's a particularly fine demonstration of what it can do. Playlist was one I mentioned earlier in the year. There was a Daptone Records playlist on Qobuz. It has cost me a fortune. I have bought a lot of music from that playlist. It covers a lot of ground. It just serves to remind that Daptone Records is doing some of the most inventive and entertaining music that I've listened to in a long, long time. Have I missed anything? Or have I powered through all the things I'm supposed to do?
I think you've done everything there, Ed. Well done.
The only thing I would say is I had accidentally presented an album of the week. There is an album out, came out last Friday by a band called Cosmodome. The album is imaginatively called Cosmodome. And if you every now and again have a guilt like of prog, you need to have a listen to that. It's quite a lot of fun. So there you go.
Excellent. Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for that, Ed. If you've got any suggestions of anything that we've talked about so far tonight, or anything that's going to come up very soon, then do that. You can do it via the podcast thread in the podcast forums on AVForums. To find the podcast forum, go to the forum list, go right down the bottom of the page, and we're second from bottom, just above the feedback forum. Go in there, find the podcast that you're listening to, and leave your comments there. If you're watching live, you can obviously do it in the live chat window that is going at the moment. Stick your question in there. Maybe highlight it as a question, just so we notice it when it does pop up there. If we've got time tonight, we will certainly come and try and answer that question. And don't forget, if you're a patron, and we really do appreciate your support, there's lots of you, we are doing an after party tonight. Once we finish with the live YouTube, we're going to go on to a call with some patrons. So if you want to do that, you're a patron at the moment, you are supporting the site. If you go to the Patreon page and have a look on there, it'll give you the details as to how that will happen, and that's going to happen very, very soon. So if you want to ask us any questions you like, we might not answer them, but you can certainly ask them. Then you can head over, and we're going to do that in a little while. Right, so to wrap up on tonight's podcast, we're going to move to movies, which is obviously cinema releases. Yes, cinemas haven't been open all year, but we have managed now and again to get out. We've also obviously watched on streaming as well when they've been made available on different services. So let's just quickly go through our best of 2021. And I'm going to ask the question. I kind of think I know what the answer is. But Ed, anything to add in this section?
Well, I did go and see Dune.
Oh.
and I quite liked it. I'm particularly relieved that there's going to be the second half of it.
Yes.
But no, you know what? It passed the time perfectly well. You know, it's not my preferred medium, and I hate the cinema. It's got other people in it, and other people are awful. But you know, that it was fine.
Ed, that makes it the best film of all time. It's officially the best film. That is a ringing endorsement from you.
Well, no, as I say,
none of us need to say anything else.
No, it is.
We've got the recommendation for the
number one of the list. Thanks for that. That's it.
No, I enjoyed it. Do you know what? I'll even go back to the cinema to watch the next one as well. So you know, there you go. I can't say fairer than that.
June, everybody.
Yeah,
come on.
Okay, well, thanks for watching tonight. I think we've managed to agree on everything there. So there you go. Let's go, Mark. Mark, what's been your big cinema release or streaming release of the year?
Well, to be fair, I feel such a fraud. I take part in these movie discussions, and Ed has seen the film that I haven't. So I have a sneaking suspicion my favorite film of the year is one I haven't seen. I haven't seen June yet. So in terms of the cinema releases, the one I've had the best time with, and it's going to grate on Tom, is Ghostbusters Afterlife. Expected nothing from it. Had a whale of a time and even teared up at the end.
Yeah,
so it's because you don't like joy. Tom. Joy is overrated in your life. Streaming wise, the one I've had the most fun with was the 3 Fear Street movies on Netflix. Really interesting, came out of nowhere. I'm a horror junkie anyway, but the way that the 3 movies came out, different time periods, interlinked, kind of felt like a bridge between a mini series and the film. Yeah, I had a whale of a time with the 3 Fear Street films on Netflix.
Yeah, they were great fun, weren't they? Really surprising.
Absolutely.
You know, so much rubbish comes on Netflix, but these were really good.
That does sum it up.
And Daniel says it should have a badge that says "Seen in the Cinema by Ed."
Yeah,
that's an endorsement. Thank
A
you,
rarely
Colin.
awarded title.
Tom, what's your favourite?
Me? Well, we've already said June. I mean, my heart says June, but my head says Nomadland. And I don't know if Nomadland counts. I don't know how much of a cinema release it got, if any, but I certainly saw it on Disney Plus, so it should be my streaming pick, really. It's the most emotionally resonant film I have seen in years. So I can't recommend that highly enough. Loads of people watched it and said they were bored to tears. I can't really fault them on that because it's a very specific type of film. But yeah, that blew me away emotionally. But in terms of just overall experience, yeah, I have to say June. I cannot wait to watch it again. I saw it twice in the cinemas, and I cannot wait to see it again.
No, I enjoyed it. I would also say that the soundtrack is an absolute banger as well. A different sort of experience, but a very good one nevertheless.
Okay, Rick, you got anything to add at this point?
No Time to Die. For me, that's the only film I've seen in the cinema this year. So there you go.
Did Steve just wince at this point?
But luckily, I used to write for the official Bond magazine and mainly wrote about Felix Leiter than Bond. And this was peak Felix Leiter. I won't spoil what happened. but I absolutely loved it. It also sort of summed up the lockdown for me because it was no time to diet for me during the lockdown. But yeah, I genuine. Again, no spoilers, but I let out a little tear during that.
I let out a cry of rage at the end of it.
So come on then, Steve.
Well, I've only seen 3 films at the cinema this year. One was No Time to Die, which I hated. The other one was Dune, preferred Lynch's version. So by default, Spider-Man No Way Home wins is my favourite film of the year. I did hear Ed's album of the year, and I do second his choice of Bright Magic by Public Service Broadcasting.
Right.
My streaming film of the year, I think, probably was Coda. I really, really love that movie.
Coda's great, yeah. Probably trumps the more obvious Sound of Metal.
Although I thoroughly enjoyed Boss Level. Well.
Okie dokie.
I just want to really, really quickly add to what Steve was saying about Spider-Man being his movie of the year, and Ed saying how miserable a cinema experience is. I was at the cinema watching Spider-Man this morning in IMAX. The cinema were whooping and cheering and applauding and sobbing.
So
that is my idea of hell.
It's the most interactive screening I've been to in many a long
It was
frankly,
the best.
Frankly, I would have ushers with gaffer tape, and the moment that anyone started shittery like that, they would be. It was
my experience.
The guy next to me, I heard the guy next to me say, "If so and so turns up, I'm going to come."
It was a proper, a real cinema experience.
Using his pants about 10 minutes later.
Yes, no, I'm afraid I don't find any joy in other people experiencing joy. So no, that's terrible. It's not on at all, frankly.
I think it's just Kaz. I think you're the only one left here.
Sure. I mean, June is the obvious pick, but I'm going to go left field as well and say my biggest surprise of the year was Zack Snyder's Justice League, because it was such a horrendous film first time round. I don't think anyone believed anyone could have done anything with it, and
they didn't.
Yeah.
Left all the good stuff on the cutting room floor for some reason.
Anyway, I was that brought me and the whole family back onto DC, albeit for a temporary period of time.
Okay, good stuff. Right, so we're going to wrap up tonight. Don't forget, if you're a patron, you can join us in approximately 10 minutes time, where we're going to answer your questions. It's not going to happen on YouTube. It's for the patrons who support the channel and support AVForums, and it is appreciated. So we're going to do something a little bit special for them. So if you want to take part and you're a patron, look at the Patreon site and you'll get all the details there. And I'm sure Ed will use the word shittery again. Somebody has just put it up as the quote of the year. So there you go. Right, so we're going to finish with Christmas traditions, home cinema style, AV style. What are the movies that we go to every year when it comes to this time of the year? And of course, there is only one Christmas movie, and that is Die Hard. Discuss.
No, there are other Christmas movies.
Die Hard 2.
National Lampoon's
Anything
Christmas
by Shane
Vacation.
Black.
Yeah, exactly. Anything by Shane Black. It's all here.
Enjoying Hawkeye because it's set at Christmas.
Yep. Hawkeye, Lethal Weapon.
Okay. So do we have any traditions then amongst the team here? Is there things that you do every single Christmas? Films you watch every year? Is it A Wonderful Life? Is it Die Hard? Is it something else along the Muppet Christmas Carol, which is obviously Michael Caine's best ever performance?
Well, I'm hesitant to announce this because it is unfair on my father. But we have a tradition mainly. It's no longer routinely shown on terrestrial television, so we have to dig out a disc version of it. But we generally wait until the afternoon, put The Great Escape on, and take a bet as to when he will fall asleep in it. Because he's done that every year for 20-something years. It's just tremendously comforting to see if he makes it anywhere near the actual escape sequence before he's unconscious. And it's not a Christmas film in the classic sense of the word, but it's a Christmas tradition and one that I'm fervently hoping I get to do this year.
Good stuff. Rik, anything in your household that you do?
Yeah, I have a similar tradition of playing Gremlins every year throughout my daughter's life. She's now 10. She can finally now see it without having nightmares. But she's been watching it for the last 5 years.
Those hours of therapy have paid off brilliantly.
Yeah, so that means that she doesn't believe in Father Christmas from the beginning, because that's a major plot point in the film.
Yeah, but it's only a film. They're lying. They're lying. Don't believe anything you hear. Also, I stood and had my photo taken outside the house where the old lady dies horribly in Gremlins, because it's in Warner Studios in LA. Okay. So I went and saw that quite recently, took a photo outside it, and then showed that to my daughter, and it reminded her that the old woman went flying out the roof of it.
Spoilers.
I named my cat Gizmo after
brilliant.
Okay, Mark, any traditions in your household?
Yeah, we sit down with the eggnog for a
what is eggnog?
fun.
It's horrible.
I don't
It's
know.
milk and caramel.
That's American nonsense. What are you doing
It's
drinking?
just sugar, milk, and eggs. basically.
It's in a bottle labeled eggnog. I don't know. Anyway, we sit down, we crack that open, we eat the toffee, and the entire family sing along to the one and only Scottish zombie romantic comedy musical set at Christmas, Anna and the Apocalypse. If you haven't seen it, it's streaming on Amazon
heard of
Prime
it,
now.
I did think for one glorious moment
No.
you were going to say Highlander, and I just salute that.
No, go and watch Anna and the Apocalypse. It's brilliant. Dennis Pennis singing his heart out in a musical about zombies exploding in lots of amusing and rude ways. It's festive fun for all the family.
Okay, good stuff. Kaz?
I mean, I spend every year trying to convince everyone to watch Die Hard. They're just not old enough, so we end up watching, the latest Netflix Princess Switched installment or something equally horrific. One day we'll get there, but this year's going to be great. This year's just going to be a Marvel Christmas. So I'm there.
as part of the program.
yeah, exactly.
Tom?
Oh, so many. We're a real Christmassy household, so we really get stuck in with the traditions of watching things at regular intervals. Like there'll always be a day where we watch Blackadder's Christmas Carol. There'll always be a day where we watch It's a Wonderful Life. Muppet Christmas Carol is Christmas Eve, guaranteed every year, and hopefully they'll get the restored version out in time for Christmas this year because they've been working on it for a year.
Restored what?
Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh.
So the missing.
They've got rid of all of the actual visible supports for the puppets, which is antagonizing people.
No, since release, there's been an entire song cut from it. It came out on VHS, but they didn't have that version of the master for the DVD. So there's been a song missing from Muppet Christmas Carol for 20 odd years, and they finally found it again.
Due to some questionable lyrics.
No, not at all. It's in fact it's a super important part of the movie, but it's just not been in it. Like it's just been notable by its absence for the last 20 years, and they found it, and they're going to be putting it back in. So we're looking forward.
Found it or down the back of the sofa or something.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
So, but also we really go in for, as Kaz said, the worst. We'll see if we can find the worst possible Netflix Christmas rom-com, and just.
Can I be clear? I'm pretty sure that
possible.
Amazon has the monopoly on the worst Christmas.
There are some crackers, that's for sure. Yeah.
I was accidentally down at the wrong end of the dial the other night, and I was thinking, Christ alive, that's a day of horror there if you fancy it. So yeah.
But the good
I
thing to
do
do on
fancy it.
good thing to do on Amazon is try and do a competition to find the one with the lowest IMDb rating. I think I've got one about 3.1. This is my lowest. Not that I've watched it, but
Tell me what it is, Greg, after the show, and I will watch it.
Yeah.
Have I missed anybody? Steve? Have
Yeah.
You... No, Greg?
Yeah.
Go on.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
It's a great
one.
film.
We watch that every single year. It is a great, really good, hilarious film.
As the
and-
person that cooks the turkey in my parents' household, it's my waking nightmare that one
Yeah.
year it's going to do that. So,
Yeah. And Home Alone as well.
Okay, good stuff. Did I come at you, Steve? Or...
No. Aside from the films already mentioned, I know some people on this podcast don't agree with me, but I love A Christmas Story. I think it's really funny. And last year I did a double bill because they're both directed by the same guy. I did A Christmas Story and Black Christmas, which is interesting. But this year, it's just arrived. I'm going to be watching Krampus.
The Invisible Man.
my son has learned of the existence of this Krampus movie. He goes, I'd really like to watch that. I go, trust me, you
Yeah.
probably
So
don't.
this is the harder version they originally wanted to release. But that arrived today, so that's going to be this weekend's Christmas treat.
I missed it completely, Steve. What was it?
Krampus, the naughty cat.
All right. Okay.
The naughty cat.
I think that's everything. I think we've covered everything we need to cover there. We're going to be heading off to do the patron after party. If you are a patron and you want to join us, go to the Patreon page. The instructions are there for the call that you need to join. We're going to do that in about 2 minutes. So if you want to do that, head over there now. But that's about it for the podcast this year. Before we finish, we need to do the podcast competition. There's going to be 12 winners here. Kaz, why don't you take us through it?
Okay, podcast competition to win one of 12 Blu-rays in our Christmas bumper podcast exclusive competition. Just use the following question to select the correct answer from the competitions page, including our host Phil, but not including any of our patron guests, shortly to be revealed. There are 8 of us here today. So the question is, how many do we have on the Christmas special podcast? I just wanted to make it super clear to those listening to get the right answer, because already 4 people have got the answer wrong. So, so there you go.
Yeah. Okay, your chance to win. That's nice and easy. Go and and answer that one. And,
I'll draw it on Christmas Day. So,
okay, good.
Oh, sorry. Just before we sign off, very quickly, Christmas Day. Got a review going up on Christmas Day, which I very much would like you to look at now, and repeatedly look at it, and keep your ads turned on, and do all of that, because I ended up buying it. So yeah, I need your some emotional support at this point. So yeah, tune in for that one.
Okay, he stopped at the OnlyFans. He's not going to do the OnlyFans.
No, I haven't stopped at the OnlyFans. I'm weighing up OnlyFans as a possibility at some point, or if anyone wants a shop soiled kidney, that's one of the possibilities as well. So, we'll see how we go.
Anyway, on that bombshell, that's it for our Christmas special. Hope you've enjoyed the podcast this year. Thank you very much for your support and tuning in every week. We are going to continue into 2022. There are going to be a few changes. And if you've got any feedback, you've got any suggestions of what you'd like to see on the podcast and how you'd like to see the podcast presented, then obviously leave us your comments either in the feedback thread on AVForums next to this podcast, or you can leave them in the chat window, or you can send us an email to podcast@avforums.com, and your feedback is appreciated. Now, if you are a patron and you want to join us for the after party, head over there now. We'll be joining you in a couple of minutes. But before that, I just need to thank Ed Selley.
He's making violent love to me, mother.
Tom Davies.
Merry Christmas, Movie House.
Greg Hook.
Oh, hot dog.
Rik Henderson.
I completely missed the bottom of the running order.
It's a great quote.
Excellent, excellent. Mark Costello.
Tatty bye.
Kaz Harlow.
I haven't won my wings yet.
And Steve Withers.
I'm an old man and most people hate me.
Is that a quote or what? Right, so here we go. If you've enjoyed the podcast, then obviously do the usual. Please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. And thanks to the 101,000 of you that do subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is great. We hit 100,000 this year. Thank you very much for your support. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. You can bookmark AVForums for latest reviews, news, and videos. And of course, if you like what you listen to on a podcast provider and they let you leave a rating, then please give us 5 or 10 stars or however many stars they let you do. Give us them all. I'm Phil Hinton. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Have a great Christmas and New Year. We'll see you for the CES special in January.